So welcome everybody. This is Friday, 11/11/2022, and I'm here with Chris Burres and Patty Greer. We're going to talk about C60 and some of their amazing, absolutely amazing products. So I have some questions, Chris, if you're willing to let me grill you.
Absolutely. I think that would be good. And Penny, thank you so much for having. I know you did a show with Patty, and then now you've got me in to maybe get a little more geeky. So thank you for having me.
Right, you're welcome. Yeah, thank you. I'm really pleased to have you here. And Patty, it's always good to see you. So,
It's always good to see you. And before the show, you said you ran out of C60 Evo.
yeah.
That will not happen again.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm so busy. I barely have time to take care of myself. So last night I was up all night. I went to bed at 5 a.m. this morning because I was doing a liver flush. And that is now done. I'm a little bit droopy, but I feel kind of spunky in terms of, the energy just of getting to talk to you, Chris. So, so let
What
me,
drove you to do a liver flush?
I do it regularly because I am not wanting arthritis, rheumatoid arthritis. So I was a patient of Dr. Nicholas Gonzalez, learned how to do some hospital grade detox. And I do that at least once a year, usually twice a year. This year in September, I was really quite sick with salivary gland infection. And so I just am getting to the liver flush, and I'm glad it's done because it was a little bit nauseous. So
I just asked because the protective effects of really ESS60. I know kind of historically you're used to talking about C60. We really
yeah,
like to talk about ESS60. The liver
that's
protective
right.
effects of ESS60 are just phenomenal. And I
Okay.
don't often talk about a testimonial. By the way, this is a testimonial, and I'll give you the history. It's a guy who used to own a business in this space, who no longer owns a business in the space, shared with me that he was aware of two people who were on the liver transplant list who got off of it just with
Oh,
this formula, right? Again, not making any claims, just sharing
okay.
a story. You couple that with in the original research, and we'll dive into this. I don't want to kind of shortcut stuff. But in the original research, they actually gave the test subjects carbon tetrachloride, which tends to do a lot of damage to the liver. And those rats that were given the C60 Evo formula, their livers started to heal, started to repair, whereas the ones that were given the control of the water did not. So this kind of antioxidant protective effect in the liver is pretty phenomenal. And then the kind of last thing that ties into that is we have a number of people who say that they don't get hangovers when they're taking the ESS60 molecule. Of course, alcohol is processed in the liver, and so there you go.
That's right. Wow. I'm that's ESS 60 versus just plain old C60.
Yeah.
Big
Um,
difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
what is the difference?
Yeah, so a couple of things really drove that. The kind of broad way to look at it, right, is
Okay.
C60 is for industrial. Let's kind of roll back. Like, what is C60, right? So
Okay.
let's like
Yeah.
we'll do our little magic rewind thing,
Okay.
and we'll talk about this molecule. So I'm actually holding up a model of a molecule. If you're just listening, that's fine. Imagine a soccer ball where the lines on the soccer ball represent the bonds between the carbon atoms. So you have a
Yeah.
spherical molecule of 60 carbon atoms. This molecule was actually discovered in 1985 at Rice University, which is here in Houston, Texas. That's where I'm based. And the three scientists who discovered it in 85 actually won the Nobel Prize in 1996. So a short 11 years from discovery to being awarded the Nobel Prize.
That's amazing.
Yes, they were awarded the Nobel Prize because this material, this molecule, is amazing. It performs as well or better than the current best material in almost every application.
Hmm.
better inks, better tires, better batteries, better photocells, and all these things might make you nervous because we're talking about a supplement, but but we'll get there. We'll go down this path and it'll go properly.
Okay.
Yes. So it's an amazing molecule. You can actually fire it at 15,000 miles at a plate of steel, where most molecules will just shred apart because of the impact. This molecule, this soccer ball shaped molecule, will just bounce right back. And then part of that is because it's got six-fold symmetry. There's 6 planes through this soccer ball shaped molecule. We call it ESS60 if you're going to consume it, that it's symmetrical. And that gives it a lot of resilience. It was also known very early on that it could hold up to 6 electrons. So it's a pretty amazing molecule right from the get-go.
Oh, okay. Yeah, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. So when you start talking about this difference between C60 and ESS60, if you look in the literature, this is just fact. If you C60, of course, we just described it as inks, batteries, tires, and photocells. It's for industrial purposes, and there is peer-reviewed published papers that show if you improperly process this C60 molecule, it's actually harmful, and that's peer-reviewed published research. ESS60 is C60 that's been processed for safer human consumption. So it really is the way, and it serves 2 purposes really in the market. One is to keep them away from industrial grade harmful C60. And then the next is we actually canvassed we'll call it the industrial C60 market. We looked at 22 of the brands that are out there, and we looked at their concentrations, and the best way to describe it is that they were woefully low in concentration.
Oh, wow.
So ESS60 is a way to make sure not only are you getting a safely processed C60 that becomes ESS60, you're also getting a high quality, high concentration product.
Well, does that spherical structure, does that lattice structure change when you do the processing to make it less harmful than the industrial stuff? Does it
No, it does not. It actually maintains that. And that kind of brings up an interesting point, because we do manufacture this molecule in a reactor. But before you're like, oh, this is, some synthetic man-made thing, this molecule, this ESS60 molecule, it is naturally occurring. If you collect the soot from a candle flame, so if you just take a candle flame and you put a cold steel plate above the candle flame, you'll get a black soot on that cold steel plate. That soot has parts per million or parts per billion, so very low quantities of this ESS60 molecule. So yes, it's naturally occurring. And then unlike, we're familiar with things like synthetic hormones, where they have substantially similar chemical structure, but man-made hormones are in fact different than natural hormones. That is not the case with this ESS60 molecule. And the reason it's not the case is because this molecule is so simple. It is literally only 60 carbon atoms. There's nothing else. There's no complexity. You can't, in organic chemistry, there's a right-handed molecule and a left-handed molecule. You can't have this because it's symmetrical. So it really is the equivalent, whether you make it in our reactor or if you collect it from the soot of a candle.
Okay. Well, at what point did people begin to realize or recognize that it was beneficial for human health?
Well, I think
That's
there's two answers to that question. And the first one is very early on, right? So even back in the 90s, actually, this is, again, discovered 85, Nobel Prize 96. I started my lab in 91 with my business partner, Robert, manufacturing and delivering carbon nanomaterials to research institutions around the world.
Wow.
In the 90s was when the AIDS epidemic was at its peak. And it was known that this molecule would actually fit into one of the proteins of the AIDS virus and block its replication, right? So that's a significant medical application. If we can get a little bit more complex and also a little bit more kind of out there, we'll say, I wouldn't say esoteric, but it really is some technology that could work. It's too expensive to do yet, but it's really quite amazing. The void in the middle of this soccer ball shaped molecule is big enough for any atom on the periodic chart to fit inside of it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So in fact, there's a new symbol in chemistry because of this molecule, the at symbol that we're used to in our email address.
Yeah.
Now you can have lanthanum at C60. What that means is the molecule, a molecule of lanthanum physically trapped inside of it. So you could actually trap inside of it some radioactive atoms. You could attach to the exterior, because most of the organic chemistry that we know and work with does work on the exterior of this ball. So you could attach some proteins to the exterior so that this molecule would attach to, say, a cancer cell. And now you could be delivering a radioactive payload directly to a cancer cell. That's extremely expensive. No one's done that. People have played around with it. But that was known very early on and theorized that it would have some good opportunities. Now, I've already kind of painted a potentially scary picture. We're like, hey, this molecule, which we have as a supplement, is good in inks and batteries and tires and photocells. They actually thought the molecule would be toxic. So the story gets a little bit worse because of one of the shapes on the exterior of this cage. So the real reason that we're here talking today is they published the results of a quote unquote toxicity study in 2012. And instead of being toxic, the test subjects that they gave it to, in this case, it was Wistar rats, lived 90% longer than the control group. So that's the single longest longevity experimental result in history. And I believe I've been talking a lot, and Patty has been anxious to jump in. So let me finally turn it over to Patty.
Oh, no, I love it. I promised Penny that you'd be super geeky, and I'm just sitting here going,
On the geeky, I can usually deliver.
Okay, so how does that molecule interface with other proteins, or does it have to have a lock and key structure? Or how does it interface?
That is a great question. And with the AIDS virus, like we just described, it's kind of a lock and key structure where you've got basically a cup in one of the AIDS proteins, and this ball could fit in that cup, and that cup was necessary for replication. So it would just inhibit that replication. It's also true of a lot of the ways that viruses get into cells to actually do their damage attached to a very specific receptor. There's some computational analysis that shows that this same molecule, this ESS60 molecule, can fit inside of that receptor and block some viruses from getting into those cells. So obviously having some benefits in against viruses, right? So we have kind of established this antiviral capacity. I think what you're asking is, and a lot of people ask this very specific question, which is, okay, great, these rats live 90% longer. First, if you're from New York, you're really disappointed. You're like, why would we want rats to live 90% longer? This is not. I feel like I should take you into the back, Chris, and make sure you never speak of this again.
Hey man, I live on a farm.
Oh yeah.
There are critters that most people have never seen on a farm.
Yeah. And in quantities that most people have never imagined.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Yeah, let me tell you, there's some stories I could tell you that would raise your hair.
strangest animal you've seen on your farm?
I think probably not so strange, just not very common, as a weasel. We had a bunch of baby chicks. Weasel like to kill just for the sport of killing.
Interesting.
So we came down to the brooder cage one day, and the weasel had pulled chicks, halfway through the chicken wire and ate their head off. And it was not a very happy moment. And it wasn't a very big weasel either. Possums living in the chicken coop, who are great friends with the chickens. Things like that. Coons, of course, are common, but coyotes everywhere. There's a lot of critters. They're not so strange. You just don't see those in the city very often.
It's true. You don't see them very often. I can tell you, we've got a possum that'll walk along our fence, and I'm in like downtown Houston, basically, not where the skyscrapers are, but fairly central. And then there's a raccoon on the freeway, fairly central. One time we were driving out to to a half marathon. My wife and I run half marathons from time to time. In this case, she
All
was
right.
running one on her own, and we saw a bobcat run. Like
Oh, yep.
we were pretty remote, but we saw a bobcat run across the street. That was
Yep.
pretty
We
phenomenal.
had a cougar in the greenhouse
Wow.
one day. It was like, oh my gosh. So, yeah, you have to be watching. You can't just walk out in the woods without
Paying
really
attention.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There
So,
are things that might be after you.
yeah,
Well, so
yeah,
once we get past the New Yorker apprehension of these rats living longer, a lot of people ask, well, how is it that these rats did live longer? Like, what's the mechanism? And
yeah,
current medical community thoughts about aging are that aging is an oxidative and an inflammation process.
right.
And it's interesting that our product ticks both of those boxes, and I'll talk about that here for a little
Okay.
bit, and then jump into even further. So, as an antioxidant, there's an ad hoc study out on the web shows that our product is 172 times more powerful than vitamin C. There's peer-reviewed published research that shows it's 125 times more powerful than vitamin C. So definitely has antioxidant capabilities.
Wow.
And I'll jump more into that because there are some really nuanced things that it can do that other antioxidants don't tend to do, which we think is why we're having testimonials that are literally from head to toe. Like, my toe healed faster and my hair is growing longer. What is it that could possibly do that?
Okay.
But to stay on the target of aging, so great, it's an antioxidant. When it comes to inflammation, the FDA, and this is rightly so, says that we can talk about our product being great as an anti-inflammatory, at least as it relates to exercise inflammation, right? So we've all done a workout or had you're on a farm, so you've had long days and you woke up the next day and you're just achy and, you can feel your joints inflamed. So
Yeah.
we can speak to that and we can say that our product is good for that. What the FDA doesn't allow us to say yet, and this just really needs more research, but we're not allowed to talk about any other sorts of inflammation. So like you kind of indicated, one of the reasons that you do a liver flush is you're trying to avoid arthritis.
Yep.
Arthritis is a disease of inflammation. We can't speak to that. You can
Not yet.
read the lines. Yeah, not yet.
Okay.
Right.
So
So
I
you've got antioxidant and inflammation, and we're checking both of those aging boxes.
Okay, so let me ask a question. It's a little off to the side. How does it interact with reactive oxygen species?
Okay, that's a great question. So even back in the 90s, the way that this soccer ball shaped molecule is structured, it was understood that it could hold and release up to 6 electrons. And electrons are negatively charged particles.
Right.
There will probably one day be a bucky-battery. This molecule is kind of affectionately called a buckyball sometimes.
Yeah.
I just think it would be super cool to have a bucky-battery just because the name is really awesome. Like, what kind of battery do you have? I've got
Right.
one of those newfangled bucky batteries. So it can hold 6 electrons. Well, these reactive oxygen species are negatively charged particles. So it like people kind of early on, again, were assuming that it would be a good antioxidant. Now we can take this to another level, and we actually like to call this C60 molecule the BOSS, BOSS, because it's a buffering oxidative stress system, right?
Uh-huh.
So it's not just an antioxidant, it's actually a oxidative stress buffering system. And let me describe what that looks like. Every cell in our body has mitochondria in it, and we'll do a little bit of kind of basic biology. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of every cell. Actually, turns out every cell except for blood cells have mitochondria in them. A typical cell has somewhere between 500 and 5,000 mitochondria in it, and those mitochondria are responsible for generating the power for the cell. And what they generate is actually called ATP. That's the chemical energy source that your cells use to be a liver cell or a kidney cell or a heart cell. Well, as with most energy production processes, we can think of a car. There's an exhaust. There are bad components that come out of that energy production process. And in the case of mitochondria, those are reactive oxygen species, negatively charged particles. And the way that your car will take care of this with a catalytic converter. A lot of the damaging components that might come out of the combustion from a combustion engine are managed by a catalytic converter. In the case of mitochondria, you've got localized antioxidants, glutathione and melatonin. Those are the two main antioxidants that are in the mitochondria, helping to mitigate these damaging reactive oxygen species. Now, we understand that our body can get depleted of these things.
Right. And they do.
Irreversibly with these negatively charged particles, and they take them out of your body. And I have this kind of scenario. Imagine it's Bourbon Street and it's the end of the night, and you've got a bunch of drunken reactive oxygen species running around, breaking windows and knocking over light poles. And the police, the glutathione and the melatonin, come in, handcuff themselves to them, so bond irreversibly to those reactive oxygen species, and then get them out of your body. Well, if the glutathione and the melatonin get depleted and are not available, that's where this ESS60 molecule comes in. We do know that this molecule gets into the mitochondria, right? So it's a small particle that has the ability to participate in these mitochondrial processes. And in fact, if you take one drop of our product, it has 475 times more of these molecules than you have cells in your body.
Oh my.
So, yes, that's in one drop. And again, if you think about a typical cell has between 500 and 5,000 mitochondria, it actually, I've never done the math, but it probably works out really well that a teaspoon gets you to the point where you're accommodating each of your mitochondria in your body with an ESS60 molecule. Just that probably works out that way. I haven't done the math. That would be kind of a fun experiment for a geeky guy like me.
I don't think we'd have a calculator big enough.
So what this can do, we already know that it can hold 6 negatively charged particles. So it acts like a paddy wagon where the police, the glutathione and the melatonin are depleted. We just throw those reactive oxygen species, those window busting, light pole tearing down species, they get attached to this ESS60 molecule. And when the body's able to replenish the glutathione or the melatonin, then they can bond irreversibly to them, get them out of the paddy wagon and go. And by the way, this buffering oxidative stress system just sits there and continues to do that job.
Oh, really?
And let me share, this is a theory. There is good reason to believe this theory. There's peer-reviewed published research that actually supports the theory, but it is still a theory.
I was under the assumption that you took it in and the body shuffled it out within a certain time period. It must sit there long enough to be able to do that bonding or to do that collecting, or whatever. So that's kind of a new thing for me. How long do you think it stays in the body?
Typical research says it's about 10 days.
Oh, that's
right. Wow. So in animal models that they've given it to, they've collected the same amount that they've given to usually Wistar rats in the feces within 10 days.
Okay. Well, let's change the subject just a little bit. How did you get interested in, like, I started using some of the face stuff. I haven't used the hair stuff,
That's
but
the cool stuff.
Yeah. When I saw that, I thought that is going to be great. So I knew somebody a long time ago who was a woman, and all of her hair fell out, and there was no cancer, there was no chemo, there was nothing like that. She just didn't have any hair. And when she was younger, it was pitifully thin. So she was always worried about it. By the time she was in her 20s, she didn't have any. I think she tried everything, every supplement, every whatever. And the story, I don't remember all the details because it's been a long time, but finally she just got to the place where she said, you know what, I'm just going to love my scalp the way that it is. And so she got some oil. I don't know what kind of oil it was, but I know it wasn't C60, but if it had been, it probably would have worked way faster. And she just started like massaging her head. Like I brush my hair 100 times twice a day, bend over from the waist.
Yeah.
She did the same thing, bent over from the waist and just massage that hair and, enjoy the feeling of it. And by the God, her hair started growing back and she ended up with a full head of hair that she never had for her entire life. And she said it was, I think it was just the stimulation. Plus she was taking the vitamins and the minerals that she thought would keep her healthy, and whatever she was using for oil. And I think the oil was something special, but I don't know what it was. Now that was like 20 years ago, I read that. But it came back she came back and said, you know, this has just been an astounding lesson for me, treating the body well, just loving what you've got. And when I saw your C60, I thought that would be something perfect for people who are losing hair, getting real thin hair, you know, who just really are afraid that it's getting way too thin. Put something on it and just massage it in, stimulate, stimulate, stimulate. So, and I have been using the face stuff. I love it. I love everything about it, the effect as well as the smell. I go around all day just, oh, that's me.
What is that wonderful smell? Oh, that's
Yeah.
me. That's
I
know.
actually have a separate room at the lab for the facial serum because the essence is so strong and
Yeah.
lovely, and we don't want it mixed with other essences. So that's what probably keeps it at a really high frequency where it doesn't lose its scent.
Oh, wow. It's great.
But Chris is the super geek. I love your questions, and you were hungry to talk to him because the only show we've done was you and I talking about
Right.
testimonials and how it made us feel, which is where I come in. Plus, I design the products, and then the lab goes to town.
So
And
you are the one who started, is she the one who got you into the facial and hair products?
well, actually, I think there's a beautiful buildup to this, right?
Okay, go ahead.
It's a nice story, which starts with, you know, inks, batteries, tires, and photocells, right?
Yeah.
And then study where these rats live 90% longer. And then people calling us and saying, hey, how much of this should I consume? And our conservative carbon nanomaterial scientist nature saying none. We're actually like, we're not going to encourage anybody to consume this. Now, the literature was clear, you know, C60 is harmful if you process it improperly. ESS60 safe for human consumption.
Okay.
But we were still conservative scientists. Like you're literally asking me that stuff that you put in ink, battery, tires, and photocells, how much should I consume? We weren't really comfortable with that. And that was really about mid 2013. And my business partner, Robert, and I would get together about quarterly and like, hey, you know, there's still people calling us. And when they call us, they would say, hey, my knee pain is gone. And we would like, you mean the knee pain of your rat? Because we're not recommending that you consume this product, right? And they're like, yeah. Also, my hair's growing faster, right? Or whatever the testimonial was. And so my business partner, Robert, and I were meeting quarterly in this kind of interim between 2013 and 2017. I find an article that says 50% of this is peer-reviewed published research. 50% of the supplements that are on the market that they tested do not have them in them what they say they have in them.
I have read that. I just was, oh my gosh.
Right. And you think, contrast that with being a carbon nanomaterial scientist, delivering this molecule to research institutions around the world who do research. Like we deliver a black carbon powder. That's what it is when you buy it raw. They take it, they give it to a grad student or a research associate. They test it in their HPLC and they make sure that what we sold them is what we promised. And that is not how the supplement industry works, right? Like nobody, you guys don't have an HPLC back at your house. Your audience members don't have an HPLC bag. They probably don't have access. Maybe a few have access to an HPLC at work even. Like it's just opposite industries. And so really my business partner and I, until about the latter part of 2017, decided to stay out of this. Now, this is when Patty started getting out there. She had an experience and then our phone started ringing a lot, and I'll let her tell you about that experience. And then we decided that hey, yes, we should get into this industry. So to say that I was hesitant about becoming a supplement guy, right, if you will, is to downplay how long and how hard we tried not to get into this industry. And then Patty will tell her story about how she forced us into the industry.
Forced him.
And yeah, and then also how she approached me and how excited you can imagine I was when she said we should do a face serum.
Oh, wow.
Now, normally on any show we do, when I talk about the face serum, Chris is piling it on his face. He'll take his glasses off.
Oh, I'll do
I have
that.
to say,
Yeah.
I have to say, Chris, keep your shirt on. And he does his face, and look at his skin. I mean, when I met him, he was a wrinkled mess. Look at him. No, his skin is beautiful. But when I want to bring into normal terms for people that don't speak mitochondria and all the geeky stuff, in my opinion, what that sponge is like that takes out all the ROS is and all the toxins. For me, it was like a roto-rooter. When I started taking a much lesser version of C60, but it was good stuff from Chris's lab, the base product. It was like a roto-rooter. Stuff came out of me that was just like, wait, what? And it scared me at first. And then I realized, wow, I think I'm doing a oil, I'm sorry to say colonic. I mean, it was like, I feel like anything that wasn't of my higher being left. And so the EFS, it started to really do a clearing. So he does the geeky version. I do the human, what happened to me, because I'm not the scientist. I'm the one that says people need this. And then we come up with it. And I love it that you mentioned hair loss, because our most recent product is C60 Evo hair renewal. Chris, do you have a set of that there?
Oh, yes.
We did a specific product because of the last 2 years of our interesting history, and a lot of people have lost hair. This is a 2-part serum, and we also came up with a 2-part serum for face, and we're using now a peptide in combination with the ESS60, which is now 2 miracles together. And we came up with this, his lab scientist, aside from me and Robert, he's going to start modeling. So this is a peptide called UTH29. It's been around for 30 years. Chris can talk about that history, but what he's doing is adding the creamy, which is a lotion base, and ESS60 with other wonderful ingredients, and then you have to mix it together live and then apply it. The reason we did it is because we're trying to keep as natural as possible, avoiding emulsifiers. The only way to put oil and water together is to do it fresh at the time. And it's really yummy. Have you tried, have we sent you this or no?
Not the hair stuff. I have the face stuff. Yeah.
This is the face 2-part.
Okay.
2-part face.
That is the stuff that I love. I have some stuff that I use at night. You don't mix it. I just put it on, and it's tingly. It's kind of rosemary and
this one.
Yeah, that's it.
Initial. So this is the first facial product, and Chris and Robert, they weren't that begrudging. And I do want to clarify that they make industrial grade C60 for 31 years. They are the oldest lab that's still in business manufacturing nanomaterials. And nano is not a scary word for people that understand what it means. It doesn't mean toxic, scary. What it means is teeny, little mini.
I know. So, people don't really, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's out there that people are afraid of, and they don't know what it's about at all.
Right. Oh my God, look at his glow now.
Oh, Chris, you're beautiful.
So they are the originals. And when they were in college, their professor said to them, you know, you guys are smart, you're business guys, you're scientists. Why don't you figure out how to make carbon 60? They were like, why would we do that? And they said, because it's more valuable than gold per ounce. The two of them, big eyes, went, we're on it. And they invented, I'm pretending I was there, but I wasn't. And they invented the actual initial reactor, which heats graphite rods at the heat of the sun, not graphene oxide, not to be confused with any of those things that people are scared of, because graphene oxide is a flat sheet of carbon, and this is a spherical molecule. There's no comparison.
No,
And
there
we've been
really is.
asked, and so we're happy to clarify. But again, you've got this spherical molecule that's C60 for industrial purpose, and
Right.
only in our lab in Houston, Texas, can you get ESS 60. There's no other place in the world manufacturing it. And
Okay,
what they did was they've made the carbon 60 long enough, and they were starting, to realize that a lot of online companies were buying from them, and they were buying industrial grade, which is cheaper, but they hadn't really known to offer the ESS 60 until the last few years, probably.
okay.
But they really increased the cleanliness of the cleaning process. That's the difference between
Oh.
C60 and ESS
Yeah,
60.
yeah,
And they're
okay.
both excellent, but they have different purposes. So when people go online shopping and they see some cheap product, C60, they're
Yeah.
like, oh, great, it's cheap, but it isn't made for humans. And there is unfortunately a difference, and people aren't quite aware of it. We are.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
why we're only selling the ESS 60. So people buy the oils. We have 3 different flavors. Because a lot of people have different taste, but the very strongest one is the MCT, is the olive oil, extra virgin olive oil. And
Yeah,
this is the one that I send everybody the first time to try it, because it's got 0.86 milligrams per milliliters. When Chris was talking about the HPLC machine repeatedly, a lot of people don't know what that is, but it's a very specific lab machine that tests the concentration levels. So when he ran 22 different companies' products through the machine, it gave us the information about, is it a product that's got 8.86 milligrams, really like the label says? And their answer was woefully low. Some of them had 10% of what they promised. Most of them had 30% of what they promised, but they didn't find any that were high like ours.
oh,
And
wow.
it's because they don't have the machines. They're mixing in a basement with an Amazon stir, and they buy the powder and they think, I can stir it,
I know somebody who's making it. But
A
there's
lot of
something
people
to
do.
test. Yeah,
A lot of people do, but you got to buy the good ESS 60, or you might be running a risk with you and your pets. We don't recommend it, nor will Chris and Robert sell it when they know people are selling it to people. So 0.86 milligram for the olive, which is the strongest. The avocado oil is 0.86. Yummy. Great on a
0.6.
salad. Huh?
0.6.
Yeah, 0.6 on the
Oh, sorry.
avocado. Yep.
Brain cramp, 0.8 and then 0.6.
Yeah.
And then the coconut oil, which I am so in love with in my morning coffee. Oh, it's so good. It's
I
only
know.
0.35, which is less than half the olive oil.
Mm.
So I pour in twice as much. And if you want the buzz, on the other hand, when you put it in your morning coffee, I never forget. And it's so delicious. And
You
it's
know-
almost smoother buzz when I do a tablespoon of olive oil. So I was doing 2 tablespoons.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Well, one of the things to think about is if you're taking it in coconut oil or MCT, that has its own benefits all by itself. So you're maybe not getting as much C60, but you're getting the benefit of that coconut oil, which is a huge benefit for the brain.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
great nootropic for sure.
All
Yeah.
the naturals do. And because the olive oil is the king, we also make it in capsules, because a lot of people say, I don't want to take oil on a spoon. Not that many people do. Most people are happy to when you see
Oh,
the
yeah.
benefits. I just take it on a spoon. Actually, I shoot it out of the bottle with my little bottle. But we have capsules, and they're great for traveling.
Yeah. That
They're
would be-
effortless. And a lot of people, one of our new influencers says she thinks that gelatin actually inspires your digestion quicker. So she thinks that the capsules are even more powerful than the oil,
Really?
for her.
Gelatin does enhance absorption. So that's just a scientific fact. They used to, when you make old-fashioned broth from bones, from cow bones or chicken bones or whatever, you want that to produce gelatin. And you'll see that when you bake a chicken or you bake, some kind of roast. The fluid in the bottom of the baking pan, if you put that whole thing in the fridge or cool it, it becomes like a gel.
Mhm.
That is an amazing enhancement to your gastrointestinal absorption. So
Well, we sell the heck out of them, and I guess people
Yeah.
know. Thank you for that. That's good to know.
Yeah.
And I did something that I've never done, which was who knows what's coming. So I ordered a big bottle. Look at this thing.
Okay. Oh,
This is a 32-ounce bottle. I've never had one. I feel like a glutton just holding it. But what
Oh.
a Christmas gift or holiday gift or
Yeah.
Thanksgiving present. Hi, thanks for inviting us to dinner. Here's a 32-ounce bottle. Oh
all
my
right.
God, it's gorgeous.
Oh
So
my.
we do have all the way down to 2-ounce bottles in a case, or we have, you can buy singles, 4-ounce, 8-ounce, 16-ounce, which I got one in coconut oil, just so I could have samples of all the sizes. And if the world goes to hell, I'll have big ones. I'm sorry, kidding.
All
But
right.
I think it's important to, to realize the variety. So
Yeah.
this is my little shooter in the bathroom. This is my big daddy in the kitchen.
Yep.
And it's kind of nice. Again, I live on it because I truly believe it saved my life.
Yeah.
Chris is the
I
geek.
remember.
I'm the realist and the simplest. And the single serum was because a lot of people were saying, oh gosh, I hate it when I drip, on the counter. And I'm like, put it on your face.
Right.
And I take
Use your
when I'm
hands
done and I
right
rub,
up.
I rub it on my face. I never waste any. And I even rub my finger around the lips, it's because I, more
I
on
do
my
too.
And all of a sudden I started seeing Patty, the motorcycle rider, started to have smoother skin. I was like, Chris, can we do this? And he's like, no. Then I,
Oh,
couple
I
days
have one
later-
of those beside my bed. I love
now he's making lip balm.
That's
Okay,
great.
so did
That's
they give in or what? We are making, and now today, I haven't told them yet. I was going to call them for permission. I'm ready to call my local formulator. I'm ready with a new product in mind. We are unstoppable. Our product line page with
Oh,
the new 2-part products for the hair and the face with the peptides, the UTH 29. It's like my poor web lady is trying to squeeze them all on one image called product line. And now we've got so many. I said, well, maybe 2 layers, but no, she did it.
Okay.
So
All right.
the thing I want to mention also, because I'm all about the products. Chris is about the science, thank God. And he's also about the shipping. We have a crew down there of customer service that wrap every gift in a colored tissue.
I
And
know.
the colors, isn't it fun to open a box?
Yes, I felt like I was having a Christmas present.
Well, I'm going to do an unpacking because I ran out of 2-part facial serum today, and I went in my closet where I have all my stash, and I was like, what, none? And then I went to my show samples and I was like, oh, last one. So I'm going to open it. This is that beautiful facial serum
Wow.
that Chris put on. And so we've got 2 different serums to offer. The
Oh, really?
single, which is the rosemary, and the new one, which is the 2-part with the, woo, so fun. God, they're pretty. I get to design the labels too. So what's interesting about this is the results. It's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to get reorders. This morning was, so we offer 20% off for people to sign up for a subscription. And the reason we do that is to give people a better price. And they can cancel at any time. If they only want one and they know it, they can still sign up and then cancel a week later. And so we don't hold anybody to the fire. We want people just to be able to try it. And it does seem expensive at first, but when you take the 20% off, and then Penny's got a secret code, which we will mention and
Oh,
share.
yeah, that's right.
That's another discount at checkout. So there's ways to save, to buy the products. But again, when you've got so many supplements that don't work, it'd be nice to stop buying them, which I've stopped, and to only do things that give you noticeable results. And people are saying quickly, noticeable results quickly. You
Yeah.
love this. I love this.
Yeah, I
I
do.
do this one at night. I do this one in the morning.
Oh, I do just the opposite.
Well, actually, sometimes I mix it up now that I think of it. I love having both because I
Yeah.
think that both of them are super beneficial. My daughter has had acne forever. Chris is a 12-year-old, mine's in her late 30s, and I gave her the 2-piece set. And when I saw her the other day, we were at a restaurant, and I had to look for my purse and grab my glasses. And I looked at her and I was like, your skin's better. Like her whole life, she's had a little bit of, she's gorgeous otherwise, but the skin. And all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, this stuff works.
Yeah.
So for me, I live on testimonials. We have to be very careful. Chris has to do the medical disclaimer.
This might be a good time for that. So the FDA has not evaluated our product. It is not intended to treat, diagnose, cure, or prevent any disease. And when you're ready, I actually found a testimonial that's out on Google. That's what does it say? That I thought, yeah, they work on a ranch. So when you're ready, Patty, keep going. But when you're ready, we can come back to that testimonial.
Okay.
Well, I just took a break to use some of our lip renewal.
Very good.
Just super minty. And if you don't like mint, we've got plain, but everybody loves the mint. And I couldn't believe they said yes, but they did, because it takes forever to make a lip balm and it only sells for $7. But they are so great. And what we do is we kind of do collections, because what we've learned over our 3 years in business, 4 days and 12 minutes, when you take it inside and you apply it on the outside, you're going to get better results because it's working through your whole system.
Right.
So I don't speak scientifically. I just speak experientially, but I also read all the testimonials and I listen to all the people. And after all the shows we do, I try and keep up with people's comments and, carefully reply. The only things that I'm seeing that people complain about are other people's products.
Oh,
They say C60 and it tasted like gas.
Oh,
Or C60.
I had some of that. Oh,
Yeah,
I
we don't
couldn't.
hear that. We don't hear that with our product. And again, it's
No.
because we've got a real lab.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, they're really professionals down there. And I did get to see the lab. It was, before we signed our partnership deal, I had to audition them, to see if they were really making it. And good God, it was stunning. It's absolutely, everything's huge, everything's clean. The people are
nice.
so efficient. But I do want to mention for holidays coming up, because I've shown you all these different products. We're doing really nice gift sets, and they're another 15% off. So we put together the inside, the out, the lips, and you get 15% off. You buy that on a monthly subscription, 20% off that. Use Penny's code, 10%. And I don't mean to make it complicated, but there's ways to save money. And once people subscribe and they try it, they don't come off. Today was 88 subscriptions this morning, renewals.
Very good.
I wake up to huge days with just renewals, because we've done this 3 years and it's nice to save 20%, but people don't quit. That to me is my favorite testimonial. People hardly quit.
That is. I mean, that says it all right there. People try stuff, doesn't work. They don't see any difference. It's like, okay, let me try that over there. And one of the things about C60 ES, is it ESS C60 or C60 ESS?
It's
Or does it matter?
ESS 60.
ES.
Elemental safe spheres, 60 carbon atoms.
Oh, okay. Okay. Oh, that's good. Thank you. That
And if
one-
I'm being quizzed, HPLC is high performance liquid chromatography.
Oh, very good. Yeah. Uh-huh.
The geekiness is kind of wearing off, but for me, it's about the products. This I love. You give a gift of the facial serum.
Oh,
This
wow.
is like the coolest presentation. It's a
Yeah.
sliding box that comes out.
Nice.
It's just so lovely. It says revive, replenish, rejuvenate. And this is our facial serum. It's how you receive it. Everything comes in these beautiful tissues. I think it's going to be the big rage at Christmas, because with all the disease we've gone through for the last 2 years, the hair loss, the things in the arm, some people didn't have any bad reaction, but a lot of people are dealing with a lot of difficulty. ESS 60 works. C60 is great for batteries and solar cells. ESS 60 is for humans and pets. Our pet testimonials go from my old dog is finally humping the young dog again to like old dogs, new tricks. It's like
Yeah,
they come back to
right.
life. Cats, horses. I don't want to say rats and mice because we don't want to feed them ESS 60 unless they're,
Well, yeah, I have an
showing
old dog.
us.
Lucy is 15. She's a black lab or she's a yellow lab that's actually black fur. But when she first came back to the farm about 2 months ago, we had to carry her up and down the stairs. I started giving her C60. She's walking up and down at will.
Wow. Yeah. What
She's
I love
a
about
Evo.
pet testimonials is there's no placebo effect.
No,
Right.
you're
Your,
right.
your dog is not like, oh, I got my little dropper today, so I'm gonna trot on up the stairs. No,
That's
I
right.
feel good enough to trot up the stairs, and so I do.
And
That's
trot down. She
wonderful.
could go up, but she couldn't come down.
Yeah.
She could fall
Awesome.
down. And that's over. So it's like, oh, wow.
What about, you said you were losing your reading glasses because you barely need them anymore. How's
Yeah.
that going?
Not my reading glasses. These are my distance glasses. I hardly need them anymore. They are in the way more often than not. My eyes have improved to some degree. The liver flush always helps with that. Each time I do a detox each year, there's an improvement for a time afterwards. And then I, it gets bad again. You have to stay on it. But it hasn't gotten bad to the point that I want to where I go without them a lot.
That's
a lot.
awesome.
And I can see things, when you look outside at a tree and you see all these little tiny pieces of branch sticking out in every direction, not the big limbs, just the very fine things out at the end. I can see those now. So it's like,
Wow.
okay, I still have to have them for driving, and I wear them, when I'm here, but I'm getting to the point where it's like these stupid things. I set them aside, and then when I need them, I put them back on. But I see very well up close. I never did see well in the distance, but that's getting better and better and better. So,
Well, check your mailbox. I bet that your
Okay.
replacement bottle is there because I know I got on it.
all
What
right.
else are you noticing? Your eyes are better. Your dog can go up and down the stairs. Incredible. What
Yeah.
else have you noticed?
Just little things. I'm not sure I can explain this well. I would go to bed at night. I would get up in the morning, look in the mirror and think, oh, I look my age. So I started using your stuff. I go to bed at night, I get up in the morning and I think, oh, it doesn't look like I have dried out. A lot of aging is drying out. And so that is not happening. The wrinkles I've got some fine wrinkles, not real bad ones. And I do exercise, do a set of exercises that generate electricity more than anything else. But all of that seems to have that, how do I say it? The droop that happened overnight. And if I slept on my face, you're all schwanz-wise in terms of, wrinkles and creases and stuff like that. That's not happening. I really appreciate that. Another little thing, my lips were dry a lot before, was forever getting the either Vaseline, or I have some Burt's Bees, or I had the stuff that you guys sent. Well, I hardly need that anymore. So that was kind of a benefit. My skin, I have enough dry skin. You wouldn't believe what I do to keep my skin halfway decent. Besides soaking in the tub and then, covering myself with a real fine oil. I also I have so much dry skin that I actually take 425, I think it's 400 grit sandpaper and sand it off. I have enough dead skin in a pile on the floor to sweep up in the dustpan.
Wow.
That bad. That has improved greatly.
Wow.
isn't as much. So, and that dead skin is what piles up on the surface of people's bodies. And that's what makes them look old, feel old, because it cracks. When you bend, it cracks and stretches. You feel it more. And it doesn't breathe. It doesn't absorb. It doesn't work like the kidney. The skin is your biggest kidney. It doesn't work like it should when you have all that dead skin piled up. So I go after that tooth and nail. Long soaks in salt and soda baths and oil and sandpaper. So, and the sandpapering has become much less over the last 2 months. So,
That's amazing.
yeah, it is. So I'm very, very pleased. I think C60 is absolutely what I call one of those base nutrients or base antioxidants, base supplements. That's non-negotiable. You can start and stop the other stuff, but you don't do that with C60. There's something that's essential about the way that it operates in the body. And we have such a toxic world. It's in the air, it's in the water, it's in the food, and there's hardly any nutrition in the food. So a lot of the food you put in, it carries in a load of toxins, and then you have to deal with that. And so getting rid of that and replenishing, what was that 3 R's you said? Rejuvenate, revive, and something else?
Replenish.
Revive, replenish, rejuvenate.
Yeah, that's exactly how it works. So I
I
am
want to quote you on that. Non-negotiable.
it is, it's non-negotiable. There's
I will not
very
let you
many
run out
things-
again.
Yeah, there's not very many things that I would say fit into that category, except for base nutrition itself. You have to eat good food. You can't be eating junk.
Mm.
That just, I went off of all that junk food and factory food and stuff back when I was 46. So, that's almost 30 years ago now. And it's really, from my point of view, if you get off the junk food and then you just add a few really good, basic, non-negotiable supplements, you're okay.
Yep.
Oh,
That's
and
a
oddly,
huge compliment.
yeah, because it's a really good product. So when I first came here to this planet, from the time I was a little bitty thing, I always had the perception I'm going to live to be 147.
Mm.
And that has been my attitude from the get-go. And the few people I said that to would just laugh. And when
I
I,
need a big bottle then.
yeah, I know. When you guys were talking about the longevity factor associated with it, I was thinking, oh, well, 147, maybe I can make it to 177. Who knows? So,
It's
um,
possible, yeah.
yeah, I think, there's, I guess I would say one other thing. Patty and I were talking before Chris got here, and I was saying, oh, I'm kind of, down in the, I'm not real trusting about what's going to happen. I want to see some results from the recent election and stuff like that. And Patty's like, no, it's going to be fine. It's going to be okay. We're going to work it.
I'm galloping on my unicorn.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But I was aware that before I ran out of C60, I had that same attitude. I've been out for a while. So
Girl, don't let that happen again. I
I
apologize.
won't. It was kind of a little like, oh, I wasn't feeling like this before. So regardless of what happens, even if the worst happens, you still have to have the right mindset or you cannot deal with what's coming. And I think that the mental, spiritual aspect of us as humans is in the toilet without the right supplements, without good health. And so I think that that's going to be a must have, must do, must have health, must have good nutrition, must have the right supplements. all the time, every day, every week, every month, every year. And we may get to 100 easily with a lot of vim and vigor. And when that happens, I think it is the stuff like you were talking about, Patty, that will help us make the transition mentally to what do I do now that I'm 100 years old? How do I see things? What do I think about things? If half your friends have died, then you have to find new friends. You know, if you stop being productive or you thought you should retire at 55 or 65, you have to start contributing again. And I think that C60 makes that an option.
You know, Chris used to make me put a quarter in the swearing box if I said C60. We have to say
Oh.
E60 now because the
Okay.
evolution, it's the EVO, C60 Evo, is
Yeah.
the evolution of the manufacturing process.
I do
It's
say
thorough.
that. C60 Evo, is that acceptable?
That's acceptable.
Yes,
Just don't say C60
Okay,
unless you want to buy solar cells or batteries, which they sell really good powdered C60
Yeah.
for industrial
We,
purposes.
we have that available. Just not with any oil.
okay.
Yeah.